Fred Ricciani and Scott Anderson of TSC News. Wow. Scott, we just witnessed the crowning of a new WWE Champion, a first-time WWE World Champion at Elimination Chamber. My goodness gracious. February 12th, 2017. This is TSC News. We are here to recap Elimination Chamber, the SmackDown pay-per-view, the last SmackDown pay-per-view before WrestleMania 33. From top to bottom, we're also here to take some of your questions live on the air via Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and, of course, YouTube. If you're listening after the fact on SoundCloud, iTunes, and all other platforms, we greatly appreciate it. Scott, this was a damn good show. What do you think about what we just witnessed? Bray Wyatt winning the Elimination Chamber match, winning the WWE Championship. Yes, it was heavily rumored. Yes, we expected it. But I thought the execution was great.
It was. I think Bray got his payback on John Cena for WrestleMania 30, which was cool. He pinned AJ Styles, which was great. It's a long time coming. Me and you both thought, a year and a half ago, this guy might be dead in the water, and he's not, which is awesome to see. I will say this real quick. I still have Talking Smack on, and right before we went on, Renee Young starts out with Daniel Bryan saying, we're going to have Bray versus Randy at WrestleMania, and Daniel's like, who says? So it's almost like they're teasing that it's not going to happen, but we assume it will. And good for Bray. He deserves it. Long time coming, considering where he started out, back in, 2010 on the main roster. So, yeah, 2011, it definitely is cool to see. The crowd knew it was, I think everybody knew it was coming, and it's awesome to see that it finally happened for the guy.
I agree. And the cool thing is this isn't one of those things where they just give him the title and it's like, hey, you deserve it, or hey, we just want to give you the title. He's really had momentum these last couple months. That Randy Orton feud started out pretty bad, like a lot of Bray Wyatt feuds over the last couple of years. And when Randy Orton joined, I was thinking, oh my God, this is another Daniel Bryan, Bray Wyatt thing that's going to last a couple weeks. It's going to fizzle out. Bray Wyatt's going to lose another feud to another big star, and that's that. And instead, it somehow, some way worked. It revitalized Randy Orton. It revitalized Bray Wyatt. You could tell that these guys, as well as Luke Harper, genuinely enjoy working together. And Luke Harper and Randy Orton had a great match. Bray Wyatt had a great performance. Bray pinned AJ. Well, first he eliminated John Cena. The final three were Cena, AJ, and Bray. He pinned John Cena clean, and then he pinned AJ Styles clean. Back to win the WWE Championship inside the demonic structure that is Elimination Chamber. If that's not how you put over a young guy, I don't know how you put over a young guy better than that. Maybe if he beats Goldberg in 5 seconds. But seriously, that was just awesome.
It was. My only concern is that they did this backwards. Bray Wyatt, I think, should have won the Rumble 2 weeks ago and had Orton win tonight, because now when you go into Mania in 7 weeks, Orton loses, Bray retains. What's the big, finish there? If they're going to keep going with Bray as champion, it doesn't do much for him to beat Randy as champion. You know what I mean? That's the only thing I have about it.
I think it does. I think it does, because he beat AJ tonight. He beats Cena. If he beats Orton, that puts him over huge. That puts him over at another level. And he's a heel, so he could always drop the title to Randy at the next pay-per-view or the pay-per-view after that. And even though I am not an Eric Rowan fan, Eric Rowan is still technically part of the Wyatt family. He is supposed to come back. I could definitely see a case where Eric Rowan interferes on Bray Wyatt's behalf. The guy's been out of sight, out of mind for 6-7 months. Comes in, interferes. Look, he's a job guy anyway. Let him be, Randy Orton's whipping boy. He interferes, costs Randy the match, gives Bray at least a couple more months with the title. And then, you know what? After that, Bray can drop the title to Randy. And then guess what? You can do the awesome feud I am totally looking forward to on the SmackDown brand. I hope they eventually do it. AJ Styles versus Randy Orton, because that would be an incredible match.
Yeah, no, I won't disagree. That's a good idea.
And a fresh match. It's a fresh match.
You could also have Luke Harper just come out and turn on Orton, and it'd be a setup the whole time, too. There's a lot of possibilities.
That I actually might like better, but you know what else I would like even more?
What's that?
And this is something Jeremy Bauer suggested. A triple threat match with the Wyatt family. I think that'd be tremendous.
Well, he also mentioned, and we had talked about this, not to get ahead of ourselves and not to cut you off, about American Alpha needing a heel tag team. And, he had mentioned Harper and Rowan, which, except for the fact Harper's kind of like a good guy right now. Yeah. If they do, they have a lot of different ways to do things. So we'll see. A triple threat, I think, would be good. It could be interesting, although how many triple threats do we need at WrestleMania for the main title? We've had that, it seems like, for the last 4 years. So
True, and then on top of that, we also are going to have most likely multi-man matches for the IC title. Maybe multi-man matches. Oh, really? Windows 10 has to give me that little thing in the background. I apologize for that. Blame Bill Gates for that. Anyway, as I was saying, we're already going to have a bunch of multi-man matches because we're going to have we're gonna probably have a multi-man match for the tag titles on either brand. We're probably gonna have multi-women's women's title matches. I think we're gonna see a fatal 4-way on Raw, a fatal 4-way on the SmackDown side. And then, you factor in some other matches. The Andre the Giant Battle Royal, obviously that's a multi-man match. So I could see a case to be made that, hey, you know what, maybe we don't want to do too many multi-man matches. Then again, they've done it before at WrestleMania. I'm not saying it was great, but they did it at WrestleMania 2000. WrestleMania 2000, which was
it was
WrestleMania
all tag
16.
matches.
Yeah, it was the only...
Except for one. There was a triple threat match.
No, the fatal. Well, there was the fatal 4-way.
Well, there was the fatal 4-way as well. Yes,
yeah, it was the only WrestleMania to never have one singles match, which is crazy. I'm not saying they got to do that and get every single person on the show, but I think
put it this way: when your opening match was the Godfather and D'Lo Brown versus Al Snow and Steve Blackman,
Yeah, although Ice-T had a great performance back in the day. Watching on WWE Network, kids. But you can make a case for a Wyatt triple threat, though. It makes sense in storyline. It's not just throwing guys together. I mean, Luke Harper had a phenomenal performance tonight, and he's been a great wrestler for a while. But he really stepped up and I think opened a lot of eyes in that match with Randy Orton, despite losing.
He did, but that's the problem. He lost, and he lost a couple weeks ago to Randy Orton as well. So how? Please don't tell me they're going to do on SmackDown, Bray Wyatt versus Luke Harper randomly and have Luke Harper pin Bray Wyatt clean.
Or
just for no reason, because that just would be horrible.
Or he pins Randy Orton. Or like you mentioned before, how some people were saying they should have the Wyatt family take on American Alpha at WrestleMania. Maybe this does lead to Luke Harper staying with the Wyatts, reuniting with Eric Rowan, and them going after the tag titles, which, frankly, wouldn't be the worst idea in the world. And you can kind of do a deal. But you know what?
You've done that before, too, though. Had them guys go after the titles. So.
You know what? You could do a deal where Eric Rowan returns, seems to be leaning towards the babyface side. Him and Luke Harper kind of stay away from the Wyatts for a while. And then you could do something where at WrestleMania, they win the tag titles maybe on the pre-show sometime earlier in the show. I mean, the show's like 5 hours long anyway. And then they come out and help Bray win, and then the original Wyatt family reunites. That wouldn't be the worst idea in the world either. I mean, either way, I do see Eric Rowan, as crappy of a wrestler as he is with his awkward jumpsuit and butt sweat. I could see him interfering in that title match, and I could see Bray retaining the title. Now, do you think they'll throw a curveball at all? And maybe have Randy go to Raw, or is that not? You think that's not possible?
When, before Mania?
I mean, you remember like when they used to do where the guy wins the Royal Rumble and then they choose which brand they go to. I mean, do you think they're not going to?
No, they're not going to do that at this point. No, I think they would have done that the night after, because that's usually when they would do it. I remember when like Undertaker won. He came out on Raw the next night and they had all three champions, because at that time there was an ECW champion and he chose Edge at that point, which was SmackDown. So. I don't think they'll do that. I hope not, because I'm not sure I want to see Orton Goldberg. Spoiler, but Goldberg's going to be Kevin Owens in a couple weeks. So
maybe we'll see. We'll see. A lot can change.
I would be shocked if Kevin Owens beats Goldberg, but I guess again you could have Lesnar interfere, so it is possible.
Yeah, I would honestly, even though Kevin Owens is a very weak champion right now through no fault of his own, I really would like to see him retain, or I would like to see Goldberg win. But I would just like a scenario that does not lead to Brock Lesnar putting over Roman Reigns at SummerSlam, because that's what I see happening. Or at maybe the next pay-per-view. I see Goldberg winning the title, which I think is fine because he's a huge draw for WWE right now. He's the main character of the video game that's selling very well. It makes perfect sense, and I love Goldberg the character. However, while it'd be cool to see Goldberg win, while it would make sense for Lesnar to regain the championship he technically never lost a couple years ago, for Brock Lesnar to hold the title for many months without defending, that'd be kind of crappy because we already had that happen before. I think they could have done a better job. Again, I don't think it was his fault. You know what I mean? I just think during that time in 2015, well, not 2015, mostly 2014 and to 2015, they didn't do a great job of keeping Lesnar's name in the news when he was away. They just said, okay, he's taking his title, he's going hunting. Like, we didn't hear about Lesnar for weeks, and he was the champion, which I thought was kind of ridiculous. They could have done a better job.
Weird,
Yeah, maybe, just maybe, they learned from some of those mistakes, and they'll improve upon that. Maybe they'll add more dates. I'm not really sure, but if the end goal is Roman Reigns beating Undertaker, leading to beating Brock Lesnar for the Universal title at SummerSlam, oh, dear God, you know what? Spare us, please. Spare us, please, and have Brock Lesnar win and do Roman Reigns versus Brock at the next pay-per-view. Or, you know what? Throw in a swerve and have somebody else walk out Universal Champion at WrestleMania or the night after. Or have Goldberg beat Kevin Owens, technically, by Lesnar interfering, causing a DQ, even though that'd be a crappy finish. But at least we wouldn't have to worry about Roman Reigns getting built up for yet another coronation. Ugh. I mean, unless, of course, they decide to turn him heel, and then Brock Lesnar's a babyface, but still.
That doesn't really work either at this point. But well, you know.
You never know. But we could talk about Fastlane down the road. We got a few weeks for that. But Elimination Chamber, man, I thought was a very strong show. I wouldn't say it was one of the best shows I've ever seen, but it was a very easy show to watch.
It was. SmackDown does have a few holes that they need to fill, which we can talk about as we recap.
Right.
But overall, it wasn't a bad show. Again, it did have a 5-minute overrun, which is so odd, but it happened. Yeah, I mean, it was a good show. It was easy to watch. It you know, they had 3 women's matches, which I couldn't tell you when the last time that happened was on WWE any
that was
WWE
good, though.
show.
I liked it.
It was good. Yeah, I mean, overall, it was a decent show, no doubt about it.
Right. So we had the Elimination Chamber match. We started out with AJ Styles and John Cena. They exchanged a lot of holds, went back and forth. There was a point in the match where AJ hit the Styles Clash. Cena kicked out. Cena hit the AA and AJ Styles. AJ kicked out. And man, oh man, these dudes were just going at it. We then had Dean Ambrose enter, and he was just like a great ball of fire, just running wild on everybody. And let me see here. I'm trying to pull up all the elimination order.
It was Ambrose, then we had Bray, Corbin, and Miz.
And Miz did not get out of the pod.
For some reason, the Miz looked like a wax figure in that pod. I don't know why, but he did. It was awesome.
Yeah, the lighting.
He did not get out. And I just want to say, who the heck did AJ Styles tick off backstage? Because he took bump after bump after big move all night long.
I don't think that was taking off anybody. I think that's just AJ. He's just the madman sometimes. And when he's in a big match situation, it's like those matches he had with Roman Reigns. This guy is just so determined to show people he can kick serious ass.
Yeah, I mean, and he does. And thank God they put some type of, I guess it was a little bit of a pad on the outside there instead of hitting the cage or the fence, because his back might be broken at this point otherwise.
God, yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. They had a new Elimination Chamber. Rather than it being circular like a dome, it's essentially like a bigger version of a steel cage with like the dome top. And instead of like steel... like a steel floor, they at least have some padding now, which, you know what, I'm all for, because that's a dangerous match. These guys already work a ridiculously tough schedule, and they're a few weeks away from WrestleMania, so you don't want anybody getting seriously hurt.
I agree. 2 new doors to enter and exit. Overall, nice structure.
Right.
Nice match. Yeah.
So we had Ambrose. Okay, so I got the elimination order here in my notes. We had Ambrose eliminate Corbin, and then Corbin just went nuts and destroyed Ambrose, put him through the pod, hit the end of days. This went on forever. He did not care. The only thing I would have liked to have seen is Corbin destroy everybody. I think it would have made him look a little bit more badass, but he looked all right here. I know it put over Bray huge, but I think it would have been cool when he hit the end of days before getting eliminated, when he hit it on Cena, if he got the pin on Cena. I think that would have been kind of cool. But at the same time, given how the match was structured, you kind of needed a babyface there at the end or towards the end, and you know, it makes sense to keep Cena in there. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say I do disagree with a couple of the eliminations, though. We had Miz afterwards steal the pin on Ambrose. That was fine. With Cena eliminate the Miz, I disagree with this one. Actually, this is the only elimination I really disagree with, even though I kind of would have liked to have seen Corbin last longer. I think in order to set up the Miz and Maurice versus John Cena and Nikki Bella at WrestleMania, which is the rumored WrestleMania matchup for these 4, I would have liked to have seen Miz pin John Cena.
Well, you got to keep in mind, and again, we're kind of going in reverse here, but there were seeds planted about 15 minutes before that as well,
Right.
which we'll get to. Yeah, I agree with you on this. The one thing that you were getting to before I cut you off before was the Miz did not want to come out of his pod. Corbin was waiting for him, and Dean just rolled him up and pinned him, which led to Corbin beating the holy heck out of Dean, which, like you said, it would have been nice to see Corbin go after everybody, but this sets up an IC title match at Mania between those two. And that's what I'm hoping, you have there instead of having a triple threat or a ladder match. Because I could see on the Raw side, the U.S. title being the ladder match this year. So just want to mention that. But yeah, I mean, Miz hit all of the Daniel Bryan moves, mocking Bryan again. And yeah, like you said, John Cena just hit the AA and pinned him, which was kind of weak. But I mean, I get it. I mean, what are you going to do with the guy? I mean, yeah, you could have the Miz pin Cena that early in the match and have it kind of be an upset, but
it is, it is what it is, and I could see him taking the pinfall at WrestleMania, or I could see Nikki pinning Maurice, which honestly I'd be fine with. I'd rather not see Miz take another big pinfall loss. I think Miz's mic work has been off the charts over the last year. He's been a great character.
Yes.
He's been much better in the ring than people give him credit for. Seriously, I'm not saying this guy is Cesaro or anything like that, but he has definitely stepped up his work over the last year. I'd like to see that rewarded. It's Bray Wyatt's time right now. I get it, but hopefully it ends with Miz getting a victory over John Cena, although I am not holding my breath. I could see a scenario now, since this occurred, where John Cena gets his one-on-one rematch before WrestleMania against Bray. They do a big SmackDown main event for ratings, and then Miz interferes, helps Bray retain.
Yeah, I think that's going to happen too. Again, we'll get to what sets all this up here in a few minutes. But yeah, I think what's going to happen in the next 7 weeks is Bray's going to pretty much, I don't know if he'll defend against everybody in the chamber match tonight, but he'll wrestle them one-on-one. I have no doubt about that.
Right. So then we had Bray Wyatt eliminate John Cena.
Clean.
That was awesome. That was, okay. This is what they should have done 3 years ago at WrestleMania 30. We sat through so many bad Bray Wyatt promos, so many bad Bray Wyatt feuds. He was like Kane's bastard son, and the person who was writing for him was like the bastard son of Kane's writer. I mean, seriously. It was like, hey, all the rejected storylines for Kane, let's give them to Bray Wyatt.
Yeah.
It was brutal. It was brutal. We had that awful Dean Ambrose feud. We had this. God, oh my God. It was just, man, so many bad Bray Wyatt moments. And again, I've always liked Bray. I think he's great on the mic. He's good in the ring. He's lost a ton of weight since the Husky Harris days. He's a hard worker. He's a guy that gets a great reaction from the audience when given the right opportunities. And finally, it clicked. It clicked for them. And they said, you know what? By God, maybe we should put over Bray Wyatt by having him pin the two biggest stars on our brand. What a novel concept.
You're right. And you know where the WWE dropped the ball here? And this, I can only say this now in the last 8-9 weeks of watching NXT.
Yeah.
Nikki Cross should have been Sister Abigail. I just want to mention that.
She is great. She's great. And Sanity, I'm sorry. I'm not feeling Sanity. I like Clayne Dane, Big Damo. He's awesome. Eric Young, I'm not really feeling him in this role.
It's an odd gimmick.
It is.
That has no meaning. Like,
I just feel like they're a ripoff.
Sanity should be destroying people. Just left, right, and center, not just random matches.
What's Eric Young? I mean, what can you say? Nothing against Eric Young. He's a good worker and everything.
Great guy, yeah.
But, it's like, I don't know. I'm sorry. It's like the Wyatt family's better. I mean, but yeah, Nikki should be Sister Abigail. And if not Nikki, then you know what? I mean, is Mika Rotunda, his sister, still training in NXT?
I'm not sure about that. But yeah, maybe they could have Sister Abigail debut at Mania and help Bray retain. How about that?
Well, it's better than that time when Bray beat John Cena in a steel cage match when a kid used the vocoder to make his voice deeper and sang, "He's got the whole world in his hands."
See, and again, we're talking about King's rejected stories, and you have to
remind
me of
that
this.
was brutal. We've us Bray Wyatt fans have sat through so many bad matches and storylines, but finally, we get a little golden carrot, which is great. But here's the thing: for the love of God, do not negate this great accomplishment and this momentum by having Randy Orton in 2017 just pin Bray Wyatt at WrestleMania. I like Randy Orton. He's a great worker. He's one of the all-time greats. He's a Hall of Famer. But please, just give Bray Wyatt a few months with his damn belt, please.
Well, we could get Randy Orton and John Cena for Cena's 17th at SummerSlam, though. You do realize that, considering the feuds they've had in the last 17 years. It is possible.
You know what?
Just saying.
You know what?
I mean, who else would Cena beat? Or want to beat, considering it's probably his greatest rival right now in WWE. So.
Yeah, and you know what, man? If they weren't so adamant on pushing Roman Reigns, and if they could see the writing on the wall, I know they've done the match before, but just from a storyline perspective and similar gimmicks and everything, I mean, Bray Wyatt versus Undertaker, if Undertaker was still exclusive to SmackDown, would make the most sense at WrestleMania from the standpoint of if you wanted to continue to put over a guy. Now, having him beat Randy Orton puts him over huge, but having him beat The Undertaker, I mean, but you know what? Maybe they'll do that down the road. I don't know.
We'll see. Yeah, I mean, time will tell.
Yeah, I mean, Undertaker doesn't exactly have a whole lot of matches in him, given how he was moving.
He might not even have a WrestleMania match in him.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? I'm sure he will, but it's not. It's not looking good.
The writing, if they go through Roman Reigns and Undertaker, and I know we keep getting off topic here, but the writing has to be on the wall because there's no way Vince McMahon can think, oh, Roman Reigns is going to be our top babyface going against the Undertaker. Like, there's just no way.
Unless they're using that feud to experiment with him as a heel, which honestly in that case would be great because I think he'd be a great heel, and I think if you teamed him up with the Usos, who have this new attitude and everything.
And Nia Jax.
Yeah, and maybe even Samoa Joe, and you do like a Samoan SWAT team.
Nah, Joe and Roman wouldn't work. I think the egos wouldn't. That would be like the Macho Man and Hogan in the NWO type of thing. I don't think that would work. But, yeah, I mean, the problem is Roman's probably going to pin The Undertaker. And at that point, he's a heel no matter what. No matter what you do, he's a heel. That's it.
Oh, wow. I didn't even realize this. Jeremy Bowers just tweeted me a animated GIF of Randy Orton back in 2011 punting Husky Harris. We would not see Husky Harris for
ever.
But the guy that plays Husky Harris, we wouldn't see this guy for another 2.5 years on the main roster, and he was reincarnated as Bray Wyatt.
Yep, and apparently he told Vince McMahon that night, "I will be back."
Really?
I don't know if you ever heard that. Yeah, because they were demoting him back because he just wasn't ready. And he said I think it was Vince. He said, "I will be back." And
you know what? That's just an incredible story of persistence if you really think about it. For him to be on the main roster, be in the mix with the Nexus WrestleMania season back then, 2011, WrestleMania 27, and then for him to be back in developmental for 2 years. Now, granted, he was in his early 20s then. But still, that had to be demoralizing to an extent. But for him to make something of himself, completely reinvent himself, and even in the midst of this horrible creative he's had the last 3 years, for him to persevere, have this kick-ass storyline with Orton since October, and now to become WWE Champion. I mean, that's awesome. That's hard work right there.
You know what? And I don't want to compare these two, but you can almost compare it to a degree to a Zack Ryder who's had horrible storylines, who really at this point, had no reason to still be with WWE. Let's be honest. And the guys came, and look what he did. And he, won the IC title at Mania, which was cool. I mean, this is the guy who was in a wheelchair and got pushed off the ramp because of Kane.
Yeah, sometimes you just gotta hold on. You gotta persist. Zack Ryder had a very tiny moment of shine. But you know what? Right. I mean, you look at a guy like Kofi Kingston. Kofi Kingston was dead in the water for a while, and with Big E and Xavier Woods, and they made something of themselves in the New Day. So I guess that goes to show you for any wrestlers on the gigantic WWE roster right now, if you persist, if you hang on, if you find a way to hang around, you know what? Maybe, just maybe, you'll get your chance to shine. And in the case of Bray Wyatt, it wasn't like he wasn't ever in the mix. He was always in the mix. It's just that he lost. And he lost, and he lost, and he lost, and it made it hard for people to care about him. Yeah. But kudos to him, and kudos to the booking on SmackDown, because he's definitely rebuilt himself, and they've definitely rebuilt him.
This is one guy that the brand split has helped 150%, for sure.
Absolutely. We had the Women's Championship as the semi-main event. Alexa Bliss taking on Naomi. This was a decent match. I wouldn't say it was great. I wouldn't say it was bad. It was all right. You know, it's not going to be at the level of a match involving Natalya. It's not going to be at the level of a match involving like a Sasha Banks or anybody like that, or Becky Lynch. But they worked hard. They did their thing. There was a little bit of sloppiness. Naomi went for split-legged moonsault once. Missed Alexa Bliss. But I think the announcers were confused because they thought she was supposed to hit her. Maybe they felt they would. I think the announcers treated it as a blown spot. But I thought the spot was actually she missed the moonsault. There's like a weird pin combination, and Alexa using the ropes for leverage, which is funny because she used the bottom rope because she's so short, and the ref caught that. It was kind of sloppy, and then at the end, Alexa missed her big splash. Well, actually, she didn't miss it. She hit Naomi's knees. Naomi got her knees up, and then Naomi went for her own moonsault, but she like hit her on the side.
Alexa kept rolling.
Yeah.
Alexa kept rolling into it, and Naomi definitely hit her arm, shoulder, and kind of reminded me of the Kurt Angle Bob Holly spot from many a year ago. To date myself.
Hopefully Alexa Bliss is okay, but it was a nice moment because Naomi got the pin.
She did.
Finally, after all these years, and look, I'm not saying Naomi's a great worker. I'm not even saying she's the best athlete in WWE as far as women go. It's probably Alexa, but she's a hardworking young woman who seems like a really nice person, who's extremely likable, who's worked hard to try to reinvent her character over and over again. And at the end of the day, she has a connection with the crowd. And I'm not saying Twitter and social media is indicative of somebody's popularity, or at the end of the day, it's about merchandise and all that jazz. But she hasn't always had a lot of merchandise. But she's a person that has a rabid fan base online, a really rabid fan base online. I don't know what they call themselves, the Naomites or whatever, the glow sticks, whatever the case may be. Naomi always has a huge following on social media, a lot of support on social media. When the dummies left her off the Total Divas poster, Twitter came for the e-marketing department's heads. I mean, my God. When Naomi didn't have merchandise, Twitter came for WWEshop.com's heads. My goodness gracious. And finally, for all the supporters, Naomi finally won the big one. She is going to WrestleMania in her hometown of Orlando, Florida, to defend the SmackDown Women's Championship. And what was great was the crowd was chanting, "You deserve it." I know that chant's been overdone, but it was a genuinely nice moment. She was crying. She was thanking everybody. It was real emotion, and we don't get enough. It was real, raw emotion. It was a genuine moment, and we don't get enough of those moments in WWE or in wrestling in general. So, thumbs up, even though the match was a little rough.
Well, from where she started, back to being the cheerleader dancer of Brodus Clay, and she's been injured a lot. Let's be honest. She deserved it. I mean, no doubt about it. She's somebody else who's persevered and kept coming back. So, good for her, no doubt about it. I hope that they give the side plates of her title, they make them glow somehow, because I think that'd be pretty cool.
True that. Now, somebody here, Darshan Pamal said, "Fred, I just joined the recap. Can you please recap the show?" That's what I'm doing. But if you want quick results, Bray Wyatt's your new WWE champion, eliminating John Cena and then AJ Styles clean to win the world title for the first time. Afterwards, Randy Orton came out and had a stare down with him from the ramp. We had Naomi pin Alexa Bliss to win the SmackDown Women's Championship. We had American Alpha in the Tag Team Turmoil match win by last defeating the Ascension to retain the tag titles, although it was really wacky. I missed part of this match because my feed was acting up, but from what I understand, American Alpha eliminated the Usos. The Usos beat the hell out of American Alpha at the end. The Ascension came out, thought they were going to win, and somehow, some way, Chad Gable did his best Super Cena impression, his best Hulk Hogan impression, and they were able to pin the Ascension to retain the tag titles. Was there anything else that was relevant in that match?
No and yes. No to the fact of nothing else major happened, although kind of an odd spot, because you assume the Ascension's going to win, and when they came out, Connor bumped right into one of the Usos, like just walking down the ramp, and came in a little quick stare down, and you think, okay, maybe it'll set something up. Other than that, it just goes to show that the SmackDown Tag Team division is not very deep. American Alpha beat every team on the roster, and basically right now they have nobody to go against at WrestleMania because there's no credibility to anyone. The Vaudevillains were just there as a team. They didn't do anything. unfortunately, you saw the Spirit Squad and the Headbangers on SmackDown, very briefly, but they need tag teams, and one would assume it's going to be the Revival coming up pretty soon, but I'm not sure if even they can, help this division right now. And it seems like it's a division of mostly NXT tag teams, if you realize it, except for the Usos and Slater and Rhino. So they definitely need some help on their SmackDown tag team division. And unfortunately, I think, having American Alpha win just doesn't do them any favors.
Yeah, it's tough for American Alpha right now. I mean, they won the tag titles. They went missing for a couple weeks, and they beat every tag team on SmackDown. What else do they have? I guess they could face the Usos again, but yeah, the Revival, maybe the Wyatt family, or at least Rowan and Harper if they reunite after Mania. But at the moment, they are lacking.
I mean, I guess you have the team of Apollo Crews and Kalisto.
Oh God, yeah, we had Apollo Crews. I skipped this match. I'm sorry. This match offended me so much. I skipped it. I decided to take a shower.
That was a cool spot at the beginning.
No, seriously. I was serious when I texted you and I said I'm gonna go take a shower because it's a good time to take a shower. Because I was like, you know what? Dolph Ziggler, who's the worst booked babyface / heel maybe in the last 15 years. He's worse booked than Roman Reigns. He's worse booked than Roman Reigns. Think about that.
So bad.
Okay, look, I was a Dolph Ziggler fan for years. I stand for Dolph Ziggler for years. But there comes a point in time, like your New York Jets, where they're just hopeless. Where they're just hopeless. Okay, and I'm sorry. Unlike the New York Jets, who can draft a quarterback, who can draft a wide receiver, who could sign a free agent, Dolph Ziggler's the same person. It's not like Dolph Ziggler's going to magically turn into Tom Brady or magically turn into John Cena. He's still the same guy.
What you mean is he's still losing.
Yes.
That doesn't make any sense.
He still sucks. And storyline, he still sucks. So what do? Because this company does a terrible job of booking baby faces for whatever reason. And I don't know if it's at this point deliberate to entertain Vince McMahon or what. But you book Kalisto and Apollo Crews versus Dolph Ziggler. And guess what? They beat Dolph Ziggler.
After
just tell us what
Scott. Coming out, Dolph Ziggler. Hold on.
I didn't watch this. So
grabs him from behind and catapults him into the LED lights.
Wait, hang on. Who did he catapult to LED lights?
Kalisto. Tossed him around like a piece of paper into the LED lights where the entrance is, and it kind of knocked a few lights out, which was cool. And then and then Apollo Crews and Kalisto win, and Ziggler loses. And I know how WWE does the exclusive interviews in the back after the guy loses and blah, 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 but it's weird. And it's even weirder that, right before the pay-per-view came on, there were some tweets coming out with pictures of the Elimination Chamber official t-shirt that had everybody but Dean Ambrose on it. And instead of Dean Ambrose, it had Dolph Ziggler. And yet they still have this guy losing.
He's terrible. And then they put him in these American tights and he
And the guy can work. He's a good worker.
I guess for cheap heel, he having a terribly booked character and American tights beat up a Mexican wrestler in Arizona. I guess that's supposed to be some subliminal heat.
No,
but seriously,
he's been wearing the American tights for a little bit. No.
But just seriously though, he's just. I'm tired of Dolph. I'm sorry. I'm just tired. I'd like to see him go down to NXT like Tyson Kidd. Granted, I'm sure he's making a lot more money than Tyson Kidd did at the time. Tyson Kidd went down to NXT. But I would love to see him pull a Tyson Kidd, reinvent himself in NXT, do his freaking thing, compete for the NXT championship, and then after 6 months, maybe come back up.
No, you know what the difference is, though? Dolph's been here almost a decade. He needs to go to Ring of Honor or even TNA or Impact at this point.
He had his chance.
There's nothing left for him. But
he had his chance, and he stayed. And hey, I don't blame him. He took the money, and he did all right for himself for a little while. He got a WWE title match. He got an IC title win. Oh, you know what? Bring back Billy Gunn. Have Billy Gunn reveal that he is Dolph Ziggler's father, and he do a father-son tag team. That's the only way.
Go against Orton and Orton, huh? How about that?
That's the only way you can salvage Dolph Ziggler's career at this point, by having Mr. Ass come back and reveal that he is Dolph Ziggler's father. That is the only way. That is the only way I will care about Dolph Ziggler.
No, even then you wouldn't care about Dolph. Dolph Ziggler had a moment after WrestleMania 29, and that was it. And
Jesus Christ.
talk about a guy who's persevering through things. Let me tell you, my God. Ugh. I mean, hey, look, good for Apollo Crews and Kalisto to get a win.
No.
Apollo Crews has probably been the worst booked guy ever since being called up, and he's very, very athletic and very, very good. But my God, yeah.
I'm sorry. Like, I know Dolph Ziggler is a guy that can have really good matches. And again, he's a talented worker. He's a talented guy. He's been a talented guy for a long, long, long time. And I know WWE needs bodies and everything like that, but you have so many. And look, I'm not advocating cutting anybody. I don't want to see anybody lose their jobs. But just from a creative standpoint, if you're WWE, the way you've booked this guy, how can anybody possibly care? Unless your goal is to make him at the level of Jinder Mahal, okay? What is your end goal with this Dolph Ziggler character? You could take Dolph Ziggler away, put in a guy like Tyler Bate, the current UK champion, or Trent Seven, or somebody from NXT. Austin Aries, whatever. I'm trying to think who else is a guy they could take. Almost anybody from NXT right now. Shinsuke Nakamura, Bobby Roode and his fake Ric Flair gimmick that sucks. Ty Dillinger, whatever. I like the Glorious theme song, but he's miscast as the fake Ric Flair. He really is. He's more of a Triple H than a Ric Flair, but that's another story for another day.
Speaking of father-son combos, there you go.
Actually,
they're like the same age. But,
maybe Triple H reveals that he's Bobby Roode's father. I wouldn't be surprised.
Have to be twin brother, but yeah.
Maybe Triple H had a Canadian love child back in the day. Who knows? Ugh. But my God, yeah, I'm tired of Dolph Ziggler. We spent way too much time talking about Dolph Ziggler. Okay, I'm sorry. He's done. All right, let's go back to this recap.
We had Natalya versus Nikki Bella.
Very physical match. I like the intensity here. It sucks that it ended in a double countout, but I feel like they're going to lead to a big blow-off. If they are going to do a big blow-off on SmackDown and not at WrestleMania, I sincerely hope that they do it in the main event because this feud is very underrated. I think they've had great promos. I think the intensity's been great. And you could tell these two are best friends because they are laying it in when they fight each other.
Yes. This set up a interview backstage with Nikki Bella, where Natalya tried to attack her again and pushed Nikki Bella into Maurice, whose makeup, we hope it was makeup powder, went all over Maurice, which is probably going to set up the John Cena, Miz, Maurice, Nikki Bella feud.
Which is kind of silly. I mean, seriously, that's how it's set up. I'm not saying it's as bad as Booker T and Edge at WrestleMania 18 being set up by Edge getting a Japanese shampoo commercial over Booker T, but it's still kind of ridiculous.
John Cena pinned the Miz, so there you go.
You know what was another great setup for a feud back in the day? Back in late 2000? For any kids that want to know some WWE history. Remember that one time when Chris Jericho spilled hot coffee on Kane?
I do.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hey, whatever you can do to get things set up. And we had Becky Lynch versus Mickie James.
Which was a good match.
Pretty good match, although I think they did a little too much wrestling for a grudge match.
Yeah, and the fact that JBL was acting like this is Mickie James' first match in 7 years, pretty much straight up, was an issue. But
he changed his mind. First he said, "Yeah, she's been gone for 7 years." Then he said, "She's been wrestling all around the world." You know?
But not day to day like Becky Lynch. Yeah,
True. Yeah.
Well, I think the most exciting part of this pay-per-view up until about the 9:30 hour was the fact JBL stumbled on his way to the ring on the pre-show and fell down the ramp. Unfortunately, it was.
Yeah, this was all right. Becky Lynch ended up getting the win with a roll-up. It was solid. The crowd didn't react much at first, but at the end they got behind Becky. They do love Becky. I feel like this audience, especially now that some of it, at least in terms of the live crowd, is a little bit younger, they have a hard time knowing who Mickie James is and reacting to her. I really do think it would help if they showed, a video package of Mickie James, beating Trish Stratus, doing her thing, something.
Here's the problem with that. The outfits Mickie James wore back then, you couldn't show on PGTV nowadays. So how do you do that?
There's different angles, and she wore similar tights like she did back in the day when she won a couple titles.
Towards the end. All right, towards the end.
Yeah, some of those outfits were not
as much
PG.
as I would love to see the video package of her and Trish making out, it's just not going to happen. Sorry.
Spoken like a true married man. All right. And then we had the pre-show match, which is Kurt Hawkins versus Mojo Rawley. Mojo Rawley won. Who cares?
There was a spot though in this, and anybody who's listening, if you heard it, please let me know. Kurt Hawkins does his own introduction when he comes out, and I swear he said Tucson, and they were in Phoenix. It was pre-recorded, but it sounded to me like he said Tucson. And I mentioned it on Twitter. Nobody commented on it, but if somebody can go back and watch it, I appreciate that. Please let me know, because I can swear it said Tucson when he first came out.
Well, maybe that means we won't see him on TV, and that's fine with me.
You don't see him on TV now. He had some really kind of weird, cool vignettes, and yet you don't see him on TV. So strange.
I think they just needed bodies. But you know what, though? I feel like they have so many talented guys on the roster right now that are in NXT and with the UK and everything. They should just you can't call up everybody at the same time.
Well, the problem is NXT is kind of thin when you really think about it. So, yeah, we'll see. Overall, though, it was a good show. I mean, considering SmackDown's roster is not very deep, overall, it was a very good show. And they put on some great matches. The women's division on SmackDown is unbelievable. It really is. On Raw, you have basically 4 people. Mm-hmm. Nia Jax, Charlotte, Bayley, Sasha. Everybody else is hurt or just not there. And you only have 7 on SmackDown, but they do a pretty damn good job.
No, they do. They definitely do a good job, and they definitely do a better job on a 2-hour show of dispersing time to the women. So much respect to whoever's running SmackDown. I think it's Road Dogg right now as one of the main guys. So, hey, props to him and the crew and everybody involved. All the wrestlers have been doing a great job. That's why SmackDown at the moment is the best damn brand. So overall, I got to give Elimination Chamber a massive thumbs up. Go out of your way to watch it, especially. Oh, we forgot to mention the Orton and Luke Harper match. We mentioned Orton won, but
we mentioned it.
They had a great match. They had an excellent match. Go out of your way to see Orton versus Harper and the Elimination Chamber. I mean, most of the show was good. It was easy to watch, but especially the Harper match and the Elimination Chamber.
Yeah. Although for some odd reason in the pre-show, they had Carmella on there, and Ellsworth comes out and says he purchased 2 skybox tickets for him and Carmella, which is weird that a employed WWE superstar has to buy tickets. It was kind of odd, and that whole thing was just weird the whole night. Like Carmella's almost like the what's the word here? Like the head of the women's division, kind of watching all the women, and they're going back to her, talking to her every time the women's match ends. It was kind of strange.
Yeah, it's a good way. It's a good way to keep her relevant. I mean, I have no interest in seeing her challenge for the title anytime soon. But
no.
Yeah. But,
and then you have Malibu's Most Wanted, so, whatever.
Yeah, she's a good character. All right, so let's get to some of the comments here before we head on out. Terrell Scott, we get Emelina tomorrow, finally. Maybe. Allegedly, we're getting Emelina after all these weeks of build-up. She's like the new Brodus Clay. For weeks, they built up Brodus Clay in 2011. He finally debuted in 2012, and it was a completely different character from what we expected. Yeah. God forbid they change Emelina's character.
They built him up as a monster in all the vignettes, and he comes out as a dinosaur dancing fool.
Yeah, I mean, people would laugh at you now if you said, "Oh my God, Brodus Clay, they missed the boat on him," and he was not a great worker, and he's still not a good worker. But he's a guy that they back in 2011, they had some great vignettes. He could have been awesome, and they brought him as a dancing dinosaur.
You know what would have been cool for Emma if they would have done like an R-Truth type of thing where he's all confused, where she comes out and debuts tonight instead of tomorrow night. Like she just randomly comes out to the ring.
Oh God.
Like thinking it's Raw. Just something just odd, you know what I mean?
Maybe ever date R-Truth in storyline and Little Jimmy's their son. I don't know.
And they need to give Emelina Eva Marie's announcer, by the way. If they don't do that, they're missing the boat as well, because that would be awesome.
Yeah, but you know what though? It'd be totally Swagger, Jack, and Eva Marie, unless of course they actually get a real personal ring announcer like that actually appears, but I don't know who they get.
Yeah, but the rumor is Eva Marie's done with WWE anyway, so what difference does it make?
Yeah, I guess.
And they could do the Emelina will not debut tonight, something like that. Why not? It'd be perfect.
True. All right, Mr. Racer 1029, the biggest Randy Orton fan in the world with the Randy Orton avatar, says Randy Orton is going to win the title at WrestleMania and become a 13-time champion. Okay.
I could see it happening.
Robert Mays, great show. Noe Lara, Bray Wyatt is now the man. I agree. JB says, as someone who has rolled with Bray since freaking FCW, this is an effing perfect day. He beats Cena and Styles to get that gold.
Yeah. Yes, he did.
Lil RQ Loves Anime says, holy doodle squad. Yeah, I agree. I would prefer AJ versus Bray Wyatt. That'll be great down the road. I think this was a test to see how AJ would do if he turned face tomorrow. And I don't think he's going to turn face tomorrow. There's rumors that he may be wrestling Shane McMahon. I'm not a fan of that, but knowing AJ Styles, you know he would bust his ass to get the best match of Shane McMahon's freaking career at WrestleMania.
Well, just so you know, Fred, and you are close by the New York City area, they are both booked for the MSG house show 3 weeks before WrestleMania.
And you know what? Oh, I didn't even know Shane McMahon was booked. That's awesome.
Yes.
So I'm going to be in attendance with my buddy Candace at MSG in 3 weeks, and I'm going to see Brock Lesnar versus Kevin Owens. I'm going to see John Cena. I didn't even realize I was going to see Shane McMahon, and I'm going to see AJ Styles. So
it's a combined show.
No, but Brock Lesnar's making a special appearance, so for whatever reason, they're just throwing him on the card with AJ Styles.
You mean Kevin Owens?
Oh, Kevin Owens, sorry, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, hey, the last MSG show I went to, AJ Styles and John Cena wrestled for 40 minutes and had just as great of a match as they did at Royal Rumble and at SummerSlam, so I'm not complaining. I get my 100-level seats. I know exactly where I sit all the time. Been to the last maybe 5-6 WWE MSG shows. They've all been really good, and they progressively have gotten better. It's the SmackDown brand, the A brand. I'm excited. I am excited. It's going to be a nice late birthday gift for me.
There you go. Get back to a comment. Not to Manfred, Mr. Racer asks, when is Shelton Benjamin coming back? As soon as he recovers from his shoulder injury.
Wait, what?
Shelton Benjamin, he's asking about.
Oh, is he coming
back? He's out with the shoulder injury,
I don't know.
so he'll be back as soon as, or he'll re-debut, I guess, as soon as his shoulder is healed.
Oh.
Now, there are rumors that him and Dolph Ziggler and there was somebody else who could form a
varsity club. I heard that a while ago, but
that was before Shelton got hurt.
Yeah, but I don't know if that was ever going to come to fruition or if that was just something started on Reddit. I'm not really sure.
It'd be kind of cool if it happened, though.
It would be cool, but it's just, again, it's Dolph Ziggler. He's been repackaged so many times. I don't know. It's tough.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's tough. Clifford Nelson says, hey, Fred, what's up? Not much, man. Just enjoyed an awesome Elimination Chamber show. Let's see right here.
Sam Robinson asks, AJ versus Undertaker or Undertaker versus Cena would be great, but not going to happen.
Yeah. Hey, dude, 607 says, hey, Fred, why are you ignoring me? I don't think I'm ignoring you, buddy, but okay, cool. He also says that he's the world's biggest Cena fan, and he's very disappointed. Hey, can't win them all, buddy. Can't win them all. Let's see. Telvin Kipapa says, Chamber match greater than UFC 208. My God, was that UFC pay-per-view awful last night. I don't know if you saw it, Scott.
I did. UFC needs to do something about the New York State referees because they're horrible.
Jesus. I know they're new to this MMA thing. But my God, it was so embarrassing. You can't request John McCarthy and Herb Dean.
Yeah, why is that? I was going to ask you about that earlier. How come they had their own referees for New York compared to the normal UFC guys?
I don't know. I know for the first New York event, they had some big names. I think they had Big John. They had Herb Dean. They had some guys that I knew from the New Jersey State Athletic Commission who are very experienced because New Jersey was the state that started the unified rules of mixed martial arts, which all the states follow, although obviously they've been tweaked in recent months. I don't know. But all I can tell you is that the fight sucked. The judging was absolutely horrible. I think there was one judge, Doug Crosby. It was revealed by Front Row Brian that Doug Crosby judged the fight which Nick Lentz fought in. And Nick Lentz is a UFC fighter who happens to be good friends with Doug Crosby, who was judging his fight. Just... and people want to complain about Bellator and say, oh, Bellator's fixed and all this crap. No, Bellator at least is trying to give fights the fans want to see. Tito versus Chael. It was not a great fight, but it did a big rating. It was personalities. I said this on the UFC recap last night. I would have much rather seen UFC give Chael Sonnen stacks of money to go in and fight Anderson Silva one more time, headline this Brooklyn show. Instead, we got a hemorrhoid of a main event. I mean, seriously. In Brooklyn, This is the main event you give us? I'm
The
glad
fight
I didn't
itself
cover it.
was okay. I thought the refereeing was horrible and it cost Holly Holm a title.
Oh.
But
Dude,
yeah,
I'm so. You know what? I missed the dedeadline for press passes. Obviously, I had a lot going on. Taking care of my grandma and all when she was in hospice care.
Yep.
So you know what? UFC was the last thing on my mind. I remember for a brief second I was a little disappointed that I wasn't gonna go cover UFC at Barclays. I opted not to get tickets. I figured, you know what? I think I'd get a better vantage point from just covering the pay-per-view, from my home and just ordering it and whatnot. And my God, I am so glad I did not cover this event. I'm so glad I did not buy tickets to this event. I'm so glad I convinced my sister not to buy me tickets for this event for my birthday. My God, this was the worst UFC pay-per-view in maybe 15 years.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't only one fight a TKO or submission? Every fight went to
most
the
fights
full
went
3
to
rounds,
decision.
didn't they?
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
God, it was terrible. Let's move on. It was
Yes.
terrible. Okay. Let's see.
And yes, Telvin Kemper, Homestar Power has faded for sure. She's lost 3 straight now.
Yeah, I mean, she on paper she's not a Buster Douglas to Ronda Rousey's Mike Tyson because she actually has a tremendous background in boxing and everything, and she was undefeated in MMA for a while. But with these 3 losses, yeah, she's kind of faded into that Buster Douglas territory. Let's see right here. Mr. Racer asks, "Did you catch Walking Dead?" Yeah, I watched a little bit of it while I was watching Elimination Chamber. I'm a huge Walking Dead fan. Not feeling it. I'm really not feeling it. And I'm a fan. I'm a guy that likes to stay on the positive side of things, give shows a chance. I've stuck with the show. Man, it's hard to right now. I really feel like they're kind of beating a dead horse. They need to change something up. They really, really do. Although if you're a Walking Dead fan that's disappointed with the last couple seasons, I strongly recommend playing the Walking Dead video games. Those Telltale games are really good. I just reviewed Season 3 a couple months ago, and it was really, really good. By the way, cheap plug, youtube.com/TC Gaming if you want to see my For Honor beta review. The full version comes out later this week. And somebody's asking here, are you going to try the new Sniper Elite 4? Yeah, I'm sure I will. I am not the best at shooting games outside of Destiny. Destiny's like the only shooting game I'm really good at. But I'm sure I'll try it. I'm sure I'll get my ass whooped, but I'll probably have fun in the process.
You know what's so weird right now? I'm scrolling through Twitter to try to look at some tweets, and WWE put out a brand new video of Naomi, with the SmackDown Women's title, and of course her husband, Mr. Uso, there is right backstage greeting her, totally breaking character as the badass guy. It's just kind of weird how they do things sometimes.
Well, you don't know. Maybe Jason Jordan or Chad Gable hit on Naomi backstage, and we just don't know. We don't know everything that goes down backstage. Maybe they got some beef.
Maybe. Who knows? I don't know. Remember that time when Jason Jordan and Ty Dillinger were a tag team?
That's right.
Throw that out there.
Didn't Jordan have that afro at the time?
Yeah, and then I think he turned on Dillinger, didn't he? He walked out on him, and then all of a sudden Chad Gable showed up. And
speaking of a guy that persevered, my God, Jason Jordan was in developmental for like 5 years.
He had nothing. Yeah.
Jeez, nothing going on, nothing going for him. I think he held the FCW tag title for a cup of coffee, and then for him to only a year or two ago get teamed up with Chad Gable, who had barely been in developmental, and totally turned his career around. And another story of perseverance. I think that's why I like SmackDown. It has a lot of people that have just kind of persevered and done their
even
thing.
Ty Dillinger, making something out of nothing with that 10 gimmick.
You know what? I would actually like to see him debut, and I'm going to give you a scenario that I think would be great. Right?
All right, let's do it.
Okay. You do Chris Jericho, Kevin Owens, obviously, at WrestleMania.
Yes.
By the way, they're having a festival of friendship on
That's
Raw
going to
Vegas.
be very interesting.
That's going to be very, very interesting on Raw.
You assume Goldberg will interfere in that. Because he is booked for that, so yeah.
Something. So I could see Jericho versus Owens at WrestleMania. I could see Jericho upsetting Kevin Owens to retain the title somehow.
Okay.
Or you know what? I don't even know who would be the heel at that point. You know what? Maybe I'd like to assume maybe Jericho would be the babyface, just because it's hard to boo Jericho at this stage of his career. He's a legend.
Well, the crowd will be behind both guys because it's a non-traditional crowd for Mania, and Kevin Owens is world-renowned, just like Jericho. So
it's tough. Let's just say Jericho, right? It could be Owens, whoever's the supposed to be the heel. The next night on Raw, they do an open challenge. The open challenge is answered by Ty Dillinger. You have Ty Dillinger wrestle somebody, say Jericho, for the U.S. title, and you have Kevin Owens interfere, have Ty Dillinger win. You essentially have like a new Santino Marella moment where Ty Dillinger in his debut pins Chris Jericho, wins the U.S. title. Crowd goes nuts. Since it's going to be a hardcore crowd that watches NXT, the crowd's going to react to him like a gigantic superstar. That's going to enhance Ty Dillinger. You give him a little bit of credibility, and then eventually, in true WWE fashion, you have him get squashed by Braun Strowman, lose the title. But at least he'll be on the main roster, and at least he'll be a guy that can hang around, be a funny guy. And no disrespect to Enzo Amore. Enzo Amore is a much better talker than Ty Dillinger, but Ty Dillinger's a guy I think that can be that good in-ring worker, that's a solid hand, that can get over, that can do comedy. And just, I've always thought with that 10 gimmick, even just that house shows him singing in the crowd doing the 10 thing or giving a 6 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10, I think it would totally get over.
I'm going to disagree with you because I want to see Ty Dillinger on SmackDown. I think he would do a lot better. Keep in mind they're doing 4 nights straight in Orlando, so do the same idea that you have, but do it on SmackDown with either Bray Wyatt or Orton coming out to celebrate their WWE title win. Have Dillinger challenge. He can lose that match versus Orton or Bray and still be over huge. Still in Orlando. You still get the crowd. Even if you don't get the hardcore crowd that you'll get for Raw, you have an Orlando crowd which knows him. I think he could still work just as good, and he's on SmackDown, which would be the better show for him.
True. Or you know what? You do the same thing only with the IC title, and you have like a heel that you can job out, that you
But I don't
want to
see it be Baron Corbin. That's the only thing.
No. You do somebody else. I don't know who. Let's just say, I can't think of one right now. Let's just assume like
although you could do with the Miz, give the Miz back the title and have him lose it to Dillinger. That would be interesting.
Or yeah, but Miz is with Cena. I mean, you know what? For the sake of him being such a loser already, Dolph Ziggler. Have Dolph Ziggler win the IC title in some like multi-man ladder match, and then 2 days later lose to Ty Dillinger. That'd be great.
You know what? They would do that anyway, so why not?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why not? Make him the heel Zack Ryder. Only he gets no sympathy.
Yeah. Oh my god, dude, that would be great.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hey, man, I'm the perfect 10 when it comes to creative. All right, let's see. Is Balor out for a while? No, he's supposed to come back soon. I'd like to see him at least to make a WrestleMania appearance, just kind of appear,
maybe
say
he
he'll
could win
be
the
back.
Andre the Giant Battle Royal just to give him something.
Or you know
I
what?
think the Miz should win that actually. To be honest with you.
Wait, you think the Miz?
I do.
But the Miz
Why
is
not?
not wrestling in the Battle Royal.
Yeah, but why not? Well, you could still do it.
No,
I mean,
it's
it
gonna be
depends on the card.
Seriously, it's gonna be somebody big. It's gonna be Braun Strowman.
You don't think he's gonna have a major type of match at Mania?
I think you're gonna put Samoa Joe and Braun Strowman in the match, and it's gonna come down to Braun Strowman and Samoa Joe, and one of those guys is gonna win. And it's gonna enhance the Battle Royal because of the fact that it's 2 big guys, 2 big stars, going at it.
Never thought you would say 2 big stars and Braun Strowman.
Well, you know what? Braun's gotten over, and they've done a great job with him, and I really don't want to see him lose.
He's kind of grown on me a little bit, to be honest.
I don't want to see him lose to Roman. I really don't. I think he should be kept strong, but unfortunately, they got to get over Roman, so you haven't beat Braun, which I think is stupid, but whatever.
No, you don't. You can still have the Undertaker interfere in that.
You could, but then Undertaker would technically be the heel, even though nobody's going to boo him.
No, you don't. All you got to do is have Roman go in for the spear, have him do his, and then all of a sudden, dong.
Yeah.
That's all you need. That's all you need. You don't even need Undertaker to show up.
Actually, you know what? That wouldn't be the worst idea in the world. But then again, Roman would then lose. But yeah.
And think about this though. So, Undertaker could do anything in the world to Roman Reigns and still get cheered because it's Roman Reigns.
So could Braun Strowman.
You know, you got a point there.
We need thank you Strowman shirts.
That is a match that you really can't have either guy lose because going into Mania, Braun's going to look weak because he lost to Roman, and Roman's, unless you do the Undertaker thing, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, again, we can talk about Fastlane in a couple weeks, but it'll be interesting. I think we have some idea of what SmackDown WrestleMania matches are going to look like now. The women's match, I think, we said earlier, it looks like both of them could be fatal 4-ways, which I'm not totally a fan of, and one of them would definitely be on the pre-show for sure.
Well, we don't know that, but yeah, it could. I mean, I could definitely see Alexa versus Mickey versus Becky versus
Naomi.
Naomi. Yeah, I could see that. And then on Raw, I could see Nia versus Bayley versus Sasha versus Charlotte. And
now,
then
I heard rumors of Nia and Charlotte 1-on-1 and Becky and Sasha and Bayley 1-on-1. So that would be interesting.
Yeah, that'd be weird. I don't know.
It would be weird, yeah.
And then
But
of
you have
course
7 hours. I mean, you can put 5 matches on the pre-show.
True. And then of course you're probably gonna have a multi-man match for each tag title, and then you're gonna have if they do 1-on-1 Baron Corbin, Dean Ambrose, that wouldn't be too bad. But
I think you have to do 1-on-1. I think the U.S. title. It's going to be interesting.
No, but the U.S. title is on ice right now because it's with Jericho. So it's going to be Jericho and Owens probably for the U.S. title.
Well, they could take the title off Jericho.
They could, but I think it would be better if Owens, if they had that U.S. title in that match. I think it would enhance the title. Bray and Orton.
Cost Jericho.
Yeah, Bray and Orton will be awesome. Triple H and Rollins, as long as Rollins can recover, which most likely he will, that'll be awesome. Let's see what else. Goldberg and Lesnar. I guess they'll go a few extra minutes. I don't want to see.
It'll have to be the main event though, won't it?
It might. It might.
How can that match not?
Yeah. But you know what? If Roman Reigns was actually over as a face, I think Roman Reigns and Undertaker would be a worthy main event. Just given the significance and the fact that it might be Undertaker's last match. But at the same time, we don't know what's going to happen. I think Roman Reigns is a really good worker. A lot of people tend to think he's at the right place, right time. I happen to think the former, not the latter. But it's going to be a big test for him. He's still a relatively young guy.
Undertaker? That's the question.
Yeah, that's. And can
Everybody
they lay out?
Else he's going against has. So.
And can they lay out a match that'll hide Undertaker's weaknesses?
Which would have to be like a no holds barred type of match.
Agreed.
It has to have a gimmick. Yeah.
Agreed. Well, you know what? I'm sure they're gonna have plenty of time to work on it. I'm sure they're gonna be working together and going over every spot and everything like that.
Sure.
It's WrestleMania. I think they'll be all right. Look at it this way. Granted, it was the Hell in a Cell and you had the gimmick of the gigantic high spot, but Shane McMahon and Undertaker, even though it wasn't a great match, managed to pull off a match that most fans, particularly casual fans, found entertaining. So
even though it went about 10 minutes too long.
Yes. So if Shane McMahon and Undertaker, even if you take the high spot out of the way, it could have a somewhat entertaining match. I think Roman Reigns and Undertaker will be fine. Although Undertaker's coming off a hip surgery and at 50-something years old, man, that's rough.
It's gonna be a challenge.
So I think the WrestleMania card looks good. I think it's gonna be good as long as all the matches stay intact. And I think you don't have to lay all your cards out on the table, right? There's a lot of pay-per-views. You have a lot of network content that you have to provide. I think it's good to save some matchups for down the road. So you could Braun Strowman versus Samoa Joe or Samoa Joe in a bigger match. I think it makes sense to put them in the Battle Royal. Put some big stars in the Battle Royal. Why not? Make it mean something. I like the fact that when Baron Corbin's introduced, they introduce him as the winner of the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. They make it seem like it's a significant accomplishment, and you got to maintain that. And I think that they should do it in a way where it also puts the person who wins in title contention. That's why I think a guy like Braun Strowman, if he wins the Battle Royal, or even if he doesn't win the Battle Royal but is like the last one eliminated, right? Technically, if they keep their story straight, because the guy helped Kevin Owens retain the Universal title, he's owed a one-on-one title shot. Maybe they'll do something with that at the next pay-per-view. Who knows? Plus, you got Finn Balor coming back, who will want his title shot. Then you got Kevin Owens, if he loses to Goldberg, he'll want his one-on-one match. So you got a lot of guys that can lay claim. And also, technically in storyline, Triple H never got his one-on-one rematch. So if they actually use some long-term planning here and go back in time with their storylines and connect the dots logically, which they haven't always done, I think they could create actually a very interesting Universal title scenario for the spring.
They could. Keep in mind, we're also forgetting, somebody like Sami Zayn, who, I heard he was in the doghouse, and I'm not sure why. And after what I saw at Royal Rumble, I think he's out of it now because he took a pounding. That's the best way to put it.
For a guy that's in the doghouse, he seems to be doing pretty well for himself. So.
And right now he's got Jericho, and rumors he's going to have another U.S. title match at Fastlane, and right there would be the perfect time to take the title off Jericho. You can have Owens cause a distraction. Kind of a lot of Canadians going for the U.S. title. Kind of weird.
Hey, it's all good, man. We're a diverse country. All right, well, I think that's that. Raw should be interesting. We got Fastlane coming up, which we'll talk about in the coming weeks. But, folks, thank you very much for the support. Thank you very much for watching and listening to TSC. If you enjoyed this recap, please click the like button. Please share this with all your friends. Please subscribe, because not only do we have live recap shows like this, but we have tons of retro reviews. I just reviewed every single Elimination Chamber match in existence. Just uploaded them last night, so please check all those out. Take a nice trip down memory lane. We'll have wall-to-wall WrestleMania coverage. We have exclusive interviews with all your favorite wrestlers. I'll be uploading the fourth quarter results conference call, courtesy of Alan Wu of WWE. Record-setting revenue, although profits still behind from the pay-per-view era days. So going to be interesting to see what happens there. Subscriber count, 1.6 million could be better. Definitely could be better. We'll see what happens, but it's definitely going to be an interesting time. WrestleMania season is upon us. I'm excited. Are you? Well, I want to hear from you. Let me know. Leave a comment below. Tweet us. Facebook us. Do what you got to do. And as always, enjoy the matches.